Hey, it's Josh.
And Aaron.
We would like your help to grow our channel.
If we can grow to 8,000 subscriptions,
we're going to give you this Indominus box.
The rules are simple. Subscribe to the channel now, and when we reach 8,000 subscribers, we're going to put out a special thank you video. Everybody who comments on that video will be entered to win this Indominus box.
Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button.
Will people follow?
I hope so.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Should Be Painting. You may notice that we are in the basement, but we are not in the CGN portion of the basement, and that is because I am dealing with a small flood that happened back over there, and that brings us to today's topic. Do you need insurance for your miniatures? Before we get started on that, first of all, I am not an insurance agent, nor am I an insurance adjuster. I am just going to be giving you my opinion and my advice on what to do in order to better insure your miniatures. If you want to know exactly what you need to do to insure your miniatures, then you need to call your insurance company. Also, we are less than 100 subscribers away from reaching our goal of 8,000 subscribers, and when we hit that 8,000 goal, we will be giving away the Indominus box set, full rules in the notes below. I'm going to be breaking this video into 3 parts. Part 1, assessing whether or not you need insurance for your miniatures. Part 2, how to document and photograph your miniature collection in order to evaluate the value of your miniatures. And Part 3, the different types of insurance that you could use to cover your miniature collection. Do you need insurance? Well, if you have collected thousands of miniatures, a couple armies, if you've fully painted them, had them commission painted, plus all the tools and gear that you need to assemble and paint your own miniatures, if you've invested in things like 3D printers, travel bags, really, if you have thousands of dollars or multiple thousands of dollars invested in your miniature collection, then you probably need insurance for your miniatures. That being said, depending on how old you are and whether or not you own your own house or you rent, you may already have insurance for your miniatures, but you need to know how to take advantage of it. The first and most important step is to document and evaluate your miniatures, your terrain, your hobby supplies, and any large pieces of electronic equipment such as 3D printers that you may have for your miniature collection. The reason why you need to do this is that in the event that you want to get insurance, or if you want to file an insurance claim against your loss, you need to have documentation of what you had. And when it comes to niche hobbies like miniatures, insurance companies have no idea how to evaluate what you had, and it'll be very difficult to prove what you had after, say, a fire or a flood, just trying to use your memory and count, well, I had exactly 768 grots that were all painted, and I had 28 in a bits box. Documenting all of this is extremely important, not only to get money back from your insurance company should something happen, but also to buy supplemental insurance, since you'll have to provide a list of what you already have. The way that I do this is I take all of my painted miniatures out, I organize them by army, I first lay them out on a table, I take a photograph of my miniatures, I then create an Excel spreadsheet, and I label everything that I have. Once I have all of my painted miniatures tracked, I then track everything that is new in box or on sprue in a separate spreadsheet, so I have a general idea of the total quantity that I have, but most importantly, I have photographs of what I have. So even if you don't go through and you count every single grot that you own, if you have a photograph of every single grot that you own, you can later go back and prove to an insurance company exactly what you had, or you can use that as documentation to get insurance on your miniatures, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So once you have everything documented, how do you value it? Well, first of all, the first value is very simple. The new in box cost of whatever you have is the value of your miniatures unpainted. So if you have 15 Space Marines, then you would have to buy 15 Space Marines off the shelf to replace them. That is the cost of those miniatures. And you say, but what about the assembly and the painting? Well, the assembly and the painting gets a bit more tricky. This is in general how things are valued, and this doesn't just apply to miniatures, this applies to all sorts of things. You have to find the fair market value for a fully painted miniature. And the best way to do that is to evaluate not how much you feel that your miniatures are worth, like you may feel that your miniatures are priceless because you spent hours on them, and this particular army is when you learned how to wet blend and it's irreplaceable to you. Well, that's true, it is irreplaceable to you, but it actually physically needs to be replaced, so we have to value it. And we're going to do that by critically assessing the level of paint, whether you painted it yourself or it was commission painted, and we're gonna compare that to a market average for having something assembled and painted. If you go to a website like Fiverr, you will find a variety of people who are painting miniatures. And if you sort Fiverr by the painters who have the most number of ratings, and you look at, let's say, the top 3 or 4, you'll see that each one of those painters have different tier levels for what it costs to paint miniatures. Utilizing those tiers, you can sensibly evaluate how much it would cost to pay somebody to repaint your army to an equivalent level. So for example, my Space Marine army is airbrushed and 3-color minimum with custom bases. I can quantify that in Fiverr as a particular amount. Obviously, my army is not masterclass painted, so I'm not going to use the masterclass evaluation. But my army is also not one color, simply airbrushed, so I'm not going to go for the lowest evaluation. Once you fairly assess the value or the cost that it would take to repaint your models, you need to document where you got those values so that you can tell the insurance company. The insurance company is not going to be an expert on miniature painting, and trust me, the more documentation you can give them as to what it's going to cost to buy, assemble, and paint new models to completely replace your existing collection, the better off you're going to be. And if you wait till after something happens, it might be impossible because you won't remember exactly what you had. I will give you 2 examples, one that happened to a friend and one that happened to me. One of my friends had a house fire. The portion of the house fire was in the basement, and the majority of the stuff destroyed was his miniature collection and his miniature hobby supplies. Most of that wasn't even destroyed in the fire. It was actually destroyed by firefighters as they were putting out the fire, as they are not going to be delicate around your chaos army while they're trying to put out a fire. Afterwards, the insurance company told him that his miniatures were covered underneath his homeowner insurance, which we'll talk about in a little bit. However, he was not able to provide them with a full list of everything that he had and to the level of which it was painted, and in the end, he did not get a full reimbursement for what he felt his armies were actually worth. For me, when I was in college, my apartment was robbed, and when it was robbed, I lost a whole bunch of stuff, mostly video game related things. And because I had not documented, nor had I taken out a renter's insurance policy, I was unable to get reimbursement for anything that was stolen from me. So armed with this knowledge, the next step is to figure out whether or not you are insured for your miniatures and if you need supplemental insurance. So we have now documented all of the miniatures that you have. We have evaluated the value of all of the miniatures based on how many are assembled and painted based off of a fair market rate. We have taken photographs of everything, and if you really want to be extra vigilant, you have made a list, maybe in Excel. And you have done this for your painted armies, your unpainted armies, your hobby supplies, and any electronics that you have supporting your hobby, like 3D printers, Dremels, and the like. So now it's time to look at insurance. And again, I'm not an insurance professional, I'm not an insurance broker, and the best advice is to call your insurance company and talk to them about this before you have a problem. But in general, there'll be 3 types of insurance that you may already have or can get in order to cover your miniatures. The first insurance is if you own your own home, or if you are living in a home that somebody else owns that you are not a renter of, then there is, by law, most likely you have homeowners insurance. And homeowners insurance typically covers everything inside of your house, including your miniature collection. But there are 2 very important things to note here. Homeowner insurance, depending on the policy that you have or where you live, may have different deductibles. So you may have a deductible as low as $500, and a deductible is the amount of money that you have to pay the insurance company in the event that you use your policy to replace something. So let's say somebody throws a rock at your window and they break your window and it costs you $250 to replace your window. You call your insurance company and go, I would like you to pay using my homeowner's insurance. I'd like you to pay for this window. And they go, well, you have a $500 deductible, so that's going to come out of your pocket. You may have something very low, like a $100 deductible. You may have something very high, like a $10,000 deductible. These are going to be influences on whether or not you need supplemental insurance for your miniatures. On top of that, depending on where you live and depending on what type of insurance you got, your models may or may not be covered. Your homeowner's insurance may not cover something like a flood, or it may not cover something like a natural disaster due to wind damage. Your homeowner's insurance definitely does not cover your miniatures while you take them to Adepticon for a tournament. So talking to your insurance provider and understanding how your coverage works and what is covered and what is your deductible is very important. Assuming though that you have a reasonable deductible and that you have thousands of dollars worth of miniatures and you do have an incident, then having everything documented, you are good to go. If you have a fire and you have everything documented and you lost your full miniature collection, you'll be able to give them photographs of everything that you had, everything that was painted, and a reasonable fair market value to replace not only the miniatures, but also the cost of getting them painted. What if you don't own your own home? What if you're, let's say, renting? If you're renting, I strongly recommend that you buy rental insurance. Like I said, I learned this lesson in college. We were renting a house, a bunch of me and my friends, it got broken into, we got robbed. The robbers did a ton of damage to the house. The people who own the house, their insurance company covered the damage, but it did not cover any of our belongings. If you are renting, you need renter's insurance, and your renter's insurance can cover your miniatures if they are inside of the house. The third type of insurance is called valuable personal property. At any point in time, through almost any insurance company, you can request to take out insurance on valuable personal property. I did this after my house was broken into and after I graduated college. When I graduated college, I wanted to be a professional photographer, and so using money that I had saved, as well as gifts from family for graduating, I purchased between $10,000 and $15,000 worth of camera equipment to start my own photography company. And the first thing that I did after purchasing all of my camera equipment was talk to my insurance company and buy valuable personal property insurance on that equipment. Why might you want to do this for your miniature? Two reasons. One, valuable personal property will cover or can cover your items outside of the home. So my concern with my camera was, of course, having it stolen, dropped, or broken while on a camera shoot, which my renter's insurance would not cover. If you are taking, let's say, a very well painted 10,000 point apocalypse army from point A to Adepticon, and that army and all of the cases and everything you have for it is worth thousands of dollars, you may want to get insurance just on that army in case something happens to it outside of the home. This level of insurance also requires you to submit all of the documentation and evidence of what you have at the creation of the policy, which means that you won't have to worry about going back and trying to figure out what was lost. You will know that all of your miniatures or a portion of your miniatures are covered by this insurance policy, whether they're in the house or not in the house, and you won't have to worry about a deductible should something happen. Now, what I have done personally is I have valuable personal property insurance on my camera equipment and my gear for running CGN, and I have valuable personal property insurance on my miniature collection. And the reason for that is most of my miniatures are not inside of my house, they are at the studio, which means they need their own insurance policies. I also spoke to my broker and made sure that my insurance covered going to things like convention, covered theft, covered loss, covered damage, not just at the studio, but also while traveling. In conclusion, if you are a homeowner, you most likely already have homeowners insurance and your miniatures would be covered. And if your miniatures spend most of their time in your home, you probably don't need supplemental insurance for your miniatures. However, you do need to document everything that you have. And if you have thousands of dollars worth of miniatures, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars worth of miniatures when you add up all of the hours that you've spent painting and customizing and basing and all of that stuff, you definitely need to document that. If you are a person who takes your miniatures outside of the house, goes to a lot of conventions, or who is renting, then I recommend looking at renter's insurance or even getting valuable personal property insurance on your miniature collection. And as somebody who just went through a small flood, which fortunately did not cause any significant damage to anything, and as someone who knows people who have lost their entire collection, maybe stolen from the back of their car, that's happened to two people that I know actually, one at Adepticon and one in the city of Chicago. Someone popped open their trunk, stole everything, which included 2 beautifully customized armies that were valued in the thousands of dollars, and their insurance did not cover either of those. And as somebody who knows someone who's had a house fire where everything was destroyed and did not feel that they were fairly reimbursed for the value of their miniatures because they didn't have documentation, the answer is yes. Document your miniatures and insure them if you have thousands of dollars worth of miniatures. Well, I hope all of this rambling about insurance made sense. I think it's extremely important, and I hope that some of you take this advice, and I hope that you never need it, but if you do need it, I hope that you get the fair amount of money back for all of the time that you put in. And I understand that evaluating the cost or the worth of your painted models is extremely difficult, but you're just gonna have to do the best that you can. Remember to like and subscribe, hit that bell button. We are less than 100 subscribers away from our 8,000 goal, so we can give you that Indominus box set. Let's move to the office to take a look at the 3 projects this week that have brought me great inspiration. Here we are at the internet, and we're gonna take a look at 3 people who have brought me inspiration this week. We are starting out with Sir Paints a Lot, who has posted these pictures across the web of this amazing Revenant Titan. And I just saw this and thought, oh, goodness gracious, look at that face. The ability to paint details on like that is just absolutely astounding. This project is mind-boggling. Pretty much, I think the rule is that anybody who plays or paints Eldar are usually like the best painters, but this one in particular is looking absolutely incredible. And when we watch his video, boy oh boy, that base is incredible. I would absolutely love to have this inside of my army. Next, we are going over to Instagram, and we are going to look at Deus Mechanicus Hobbies, who has done some absolutely incredible paint jobs. I mean, this whole style of paint that he's showing off on his page is extremely inspirational. I don't know exactly what style I would call this. I mean, it's definitely very neon, it's definitely vaporwave, but it's also kind of comic booky, and just overall, I'm really enjoying this page. I like this guy. I mean, he literally looks like he's made of neon lights. That is so freaking cool. So cool. Of course, as always, we are going to be following this person because their paints are just incredible. Lastly, we are heading back over to Facebook, and we are going to go Stiff Neck Studios, who has painted this bad boy, a scorpion, once again showing off the amazing ability to hand paint and handcraft. This is one of those models that whenever you tend to see it, it's always usually really well painted. It is oftentimes painted by a studio or something. I know the one that I've seen the most is the one at Mini Wargaming, which is gorgeous, but this one is also incredibly beautiful. Just very well done. I wish that I could paint skulls as good as this guy. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope I didn't talk too long about insurance and that everything I said makes sense. Remember to like and subscribe, hit that bell button so you never miss an update. If you want to take your patronage to the next level, check out our Patreon in the notes below. Every dollar helps us grow the channel and provide better content for you all. And as always, we'll see you on the
table.